Hello, CJ Robertson from College of Coastal Georgia. I just wanted to speak on the matter. It's a little story, story time, I guess. It's basically just about not necessarily my tattoos, because I don't care what y'all think about my tattoos, honestly. But I want to explain some little snippets of life, and I want to explain what my tattoos mean. Okay, so not necessarily my tattoos, but this one particularly, what this C represents. Because originally, the day that I had gotten it, excuse me, I'm sorry, the day that I had gotten the tattoo, it was an agreement between me and this girl, okay? And she was someone that I was in love with, and someone that I put a lot of time into, and I like genuinely cared about. So when we were no longer a thing or no longer an item, and we realized that there was probably not going to be an opportunity for us to be a thing again, we came up with this idea of getting these C's tattooed on us, okay? And I had already had this idea of wanting the C on me because, in my opinion, the C just represented everything that I was, you know? It just represents everything that can involve me with the first letter of my first name, if that makes sense. And me and my homeboy were gonna get our initials, yada yada yada, blase blase, fast forward. So it was just convenient that I was getting it sooner than I had already planned. Okay. So originally, I didn't actually think that she was gonna be willing to go through with it because me and her made a lot of jokes. We were really close, but I didn't actually, I didn't actually realize how serious she was until after. So I got my tattoo first, and we were in two different cities. And the tattoo guy was asking me like, "What does it mean?" And I was like, "Bro, it's just everything that I am. You know, it's just what I am." And I realized that the C only means circumstances, because everything that I've gone through, everything I've seen, everything that I do is all just circumstances of how I chose to live, or what paths I chose, or what paths other people chose for me, which would just be circumstances in the end. Because regardless of if I liked anything that happened or disliked anything that happened, it's happened already, and I can no longer change it. So there's no point in regretting, there's no point in any of that, you know? It's just you have to learn and develop from that. So I wanted to take time to thank her, I guess, because I already knew what my tattoo meant to me, okay? But a part of me is her, if that makes sense. So through all of these other words that are just descriptive of me, there's gonna be one. There's actually gonna be two pronouns. Well, not pronouns, but two names that are being represented. I didn't even say pronouns. I'm not retarded, I promise. And one is my own, and the other is her. And she knows who she is, if that makes sense. Well, of course that makes sense, but I don't know, bruh. But in the grand scheme of it all, when I look back, I want to apologize. Um, there were plenty of times where certain circumstances just could have been talked out, could have been worked out, etc., etc. But I've never put emphasis on anything romantic. Like, I do not care about that aspect of life, because I don't think I should be focused on that right now, because based on all that's in my name, it would just be my car. Like, and my phone. I bought my phone, but come on now, like, let's be realistic. So I just wanted to apologize for not giving you the opportunity that should have been presented to you from me during that time. But I also don't want to apologize, because at the end of the day, I think there was a lot that was learned from the both of us. Okay, I think you taught me a lot, and I think I taught you a lot. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate the dynamics that we had, and the dynamics between our families and friends, etc., etc. And I also appreciate the fact that at the end of the day, um, we've never had to slander each other. You know, like, When I see other people stop talking to somebody that they cared about and all they do is talk bad about them, I don't understand. Because if I'm gonna talk bad about anybody, period, I'm not gonna talk about them necessarily. I'm just gonna talk about how the situations that we were in could have been avoided had X, Y, and Z happen. A lot of these people just be out here talking about how retarded so and so was, or how much they hate so and so, etc., how much they regret them. But for what? Because you can't take it back. And there's this concept of, oh, but you wasted your time. But I don't believe in wasted time. Because no matter what, no matter how much time has progressed through our lives, we can't get it back. Okay, so if you don't capitalize on the time that you've already spent and take it as lessons learned, then you're not necessarily wasting your time, you're just not learning. And me, I like to view myself as a student of the world, as I told my homeboy Zach very recently. It was probably about 30 minutes ago. I like to learn as much as I can, and I know that I don't know everything, you know, but I hope that y'all understand that I'm actually like trying to do something with my life. And then I'm actually just trying to, you know, better the standard of quality of living for not only the people I care about, but the people that never had opportunity. So when people sit here and judge me off the basis of somebody else's words or just any of that, I just want you to understand that when you look in the mirror and you see that person, okay, I want you to think of the worst thing that you can think about that person. All right? And then once you find that one thing, okay, I want you to try to think of how can you fix it. And if it's a problem that can't be fixed, you shouldn't dwell on it. Because if it's a problem that can't be fixed, you are no longer in control of that situation. All right? But if it's something that can be easily fixed, and you want to work on it, and you actually want it to be a good characteristic about you, then do it. Because sitting around and waiting on it to happen and thinking that this idea of time is going to heal, it's a misconception. Because at the end of the day, my feelings are still hurt that it didn't work out, you know? But I'm not letting that stop me from living. However, I am letting it stop me from trying to start anything else, because I don't think that's fair to anybody. I don't think that's fair to myself nor to the new person. Because at the end of the day, if I'm still thinking about the past, there's no point in me trying to build a future. You see? And a lot of y'all live in this realm of the world that's very tied into emotions. And I keep saying this over and over again, and it's very important that y'all understand. Emotions do not matter at the end of the day. Okay? Because I could tell you all day that I love you. I could tell you all day that I want you and that you make me the happiest person ever. All right? And then you could tell your friends, dang, I make him feel so happy, he makes me feel so sad. But every day you're beating me and I'm happy with you. And every day I'm paying your bills, but you don't feel satisfied. So there's this dynamic being built where you think the way you feel about somebody is more important than what that person is actually doing for you. And this is why a lot of y'all don't appreciate y'all's parents, because your parents actually do a lot for you, or my mother does specifically. She does a lot for me. I'm not gonna speak on everybody, but everybody can think of somebody that's done something for them. Okay, it's not impossible. That's not an impossible task. And to sit here and deny somebody their appreciation because of how you feel about them, I feel like that's like spitting in somebody's face. And I think spit is a very disgusting way of getting a message across, and it's actually assault. And if somebody ever spit on me, I'll probably stab them to death. But that's a different issue for a different time. I'm gonna cut the video off soon. I know I'm trying to keep all my videos under 10 minutes. Basically what this video was just, I wanted y'all to actually just get to hear me talk. Because a lot of these videos, I just make them to make them, honestly. I just make them so hopefully somebody that hasn't heard it before will hear it. And like I've already said, this is for my siblings in the future. And I want y'all to understand that everything's not what you think. You know, we don't all have life figured out, but there's a lot of us that have life figured out for the life that we live. If that makes sense. Because none of us are living the same life. And if somebody is living the same life as you, don't surround yourself with them, because then your life's just going to be stagnant with them. You know what I mean? So if somebody can't bring a different element of life to you, just please avoid it. And a thing about moral character and moral standing and appreciating somebody and being able to find comfort in somebody, because after you realize your relationship didn't work, a lot of people wonder why. But it's not necessarily a why, it's a when. It's when did it not work anymore, you know? And I think the win in a lot of situations is once you have sex, honestly. Because once you have sex, it actually creates a door of opportunity for you to give emotions more power than the actual facts that are being presented. Like, actions no longer matter as much for the positive things as they do the negative. Like, the weight of negative events after you've had sex are more catastrophic to a relationship. Because let's say you haven't had sex, you and your boyfriend arguing, you and your girlfriend arguing, and I don't know, let's say they say something you don't like. Okay, they make a joke about somebody, etc., etc. You don't like it. You're gonna argue, most likely, because that's just human nature, I guess. And once you're done arguing, you come to this conclusion: was it worth the argument, or can I let it go? And the majority of the time, before you get intimate with somebody, we just let it go. And I honestly believe that we let a lot of it go is because we don't feel connected to that person. So whatever they're doing or whatever they're saying doesn't really bother us as much. But once you actually give somebody yourself, and once y'all have had sex with each other, it's no longer about how they feel. It's about how the you inside of them feels. Because once they say something that you don't like then, or they do something that you don't agree with, you start thinking about you being invested in them. And you're like, wow, like, I've given myself to this person. So you're gonna look at it differently. You're gonna expect more from how they actually act and how they talk on a positive spectrum, and then the negative spectrum just becomes amplified and it's worse. And I don't think that's a fair society that we live in. So honestly, if you haven't had sex before in your life, I want y'all to know, I lost my virginity when I was 19. Okay, this is a little personal thing or whatever, but I want y'all to understand that in that 19 years of living, I never thought that sex was more important than anything else. Okay, so if I can make it 19 years and not have that thought that sex is more important than anything, I think it's fair to say all of y'all can at least last 18 years, because then you at least get out the house, okay? Or at least you're an adult at that point. Because when you start making decisions prior to that, you don't really know who you're going to be finalized as, because you've never had the opportunity to test yourself against the real world and get to see who you actually are. Because a lot of these things that people think they like are just trends and fads and products of who they hang around and the environment that they live in, and they're not necessarily who they are or what they represent. And a lot of people don't realize that until early 20s, I would say, because a lot of people were actually starting to see, like, wow, I really was dumb. Like, what was I doing? I should have done better. So, I don't know. I kind of just wanted to apologize. I know somebody's going to send it to her, because nobody can not talk, if that makes sense. Because every time I've met anybody, they've never been able to keep a conversation between me and them. But that's okay. I respect that. It just means that their loyalty lies for someone else. And that's a flaw, I guess. Because that just means that maybe the world is getting better. So I hope y'all have a wonderful day. It's a beautiful day outside, honestly. It's been raining and a little gloomy, and I was about to commit suicide, but I'm off all week, so there's no point in complaining. So I'm probably gonna release a lot of videos, and it's just me talking. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry it's not dramatic, or I don't put anything in these videos, because at the end of the day, I don't care about the videos themselves. I don't care about this page. I don't care about nothing that involves YouTube. I just actually want the people that I care about to know how I feel and to understand, because a lot of the times when I'm communicating with people, they're gonna assume how I mean things based on the experiences that they've lived, and not necessarily ask me, why do you think like that? Why do you feel like that? And that's where a lot of arguments come from and arise. But you know, to each his own. I wish y'all the best. Deuces, and yeah, that's it.